I'm out here with my kids raking up hay off this little, the whole thing's probably a half acre. I grew winter wheat. This square right here, that's actually the line. I didn't know if anything would grow. It's a really, really persistent, very long established 3-species pasture grass mix. I think it's fescue orchard grass and reed canary. And you just can't kill the stuff. He tried to garden here, and you have to run a lawnmower over it continually to keep a garden, and then the deer would eat it anyway. So I figured, let's see what happens. I took a 2-bottom plow. I brought my tractor over and turned over the hay grass, the hay sod, to stunt it and cut the root system and let my crop get established. And I probably had 20% hay crop come up through my planting. My planting was winter wheat, crimson clover, and Austrian winter pea, but we had a drought in the fall. And it did not establish very well. I'm just walking over to the fence to toss a rock. It didn't establish very well in the fall because we just didn't have the moisture. So the wheat did pretty well, but the clover and the winter pea, it was probably only 10% of what I put down made it through the winter. Most of it sprouted on the surface and died for lack of moisture. But here we are, pile of stuff in the trailer, obviously making rows, and then we'll pull the trailer up and back up to it, and I'll let the kid drive, and we'll shovel hay in there. So I tried the 4-wheeler. I tried making this little rake attachment, and it was a good experience educationally. The issue is that the tines, when you get a little clump in there, the tines will actually fold back. So I'm thinking now, if I put a bar across, and if I add more rake sections, which those fingers aren't that cheap, so that's kind of why I got 10 of them. There's 9 on there. I'll probably pull every other and then put sequential ones, because you'll get a good clump of hay following you, and then you'll hit a chunk of sod that'll fold all the fingers, and it'll release all of the hay that you're pulling. Maybe if I bent these tines a little bit more, we would get more of a hooking action. It would release less. I'll probably try that before I go today. So we're starting to get there. Go. It's more than I could rake by hand. But he'll go up and around and grab another pile. If I put 3 rows of tines on there, I think that'll actually work great. 2 people anyway. The quad could keep the pitchfork man pretty busy if it had 3 tines. If it pulled in like a 6-foot drag, a foot thick, it'd definitely keep me busy. There we go. Well, here's the results of the first cut. Now these 2 bales and a little bit of this loose stuff right here was old bales that the owner had done previously. He used to raise goats. These bales have been sitting in his little shed for 5 or 6 years, and he wants the space emptied out. So I've been taking off his old hay when I visit. Now what's up there has been packed loose, and it's been trampled down, don't get me wrong, but it's still, compared to a bale, it's very, very loose, which is good because it allows further drying. So this shed's got, not shed, but this trailer's got an aluminum ceiling, and this thing will get god awful hot. If I close that door, this is like a sauna, and that heat will help the moisture leak up through the pile, and you can feel it. I'm not gonna say it'll condensate, but you can feel humidity. When you open the door, it's like a blast of hot, wet air. comes out. So this is, in a way, it's like my little drying room. Because of that aluminum roof, it concentrates heat. Now this little shed is made from 8-foot hot tub pallets, 8 by 8 approximate. Those are pallets. You can see 2x4s and, you know, some furring strips. But you can see 2x4s right there. You know, there's a bird right there. I don't know what you call them, but up in that little rafter hole, there's a bird looking right at me. He's got a nest, so I won't disturb him. Now I'm gonna build extensions off each side of this. That's why the tin's not screwed down at that very end. The tin is what gives it the strength, you know, so you got to have tin on every side to give it some rigidity. Before that tin went on, it was real flimsy. Now this is obviously a bedding pile I've been raking out. I didn't originally plan it to be a goat shed. It was actually, this second story was, you know, to give me some room to keep my junk in there. But it's 6 foot from the floor to the ridge. I built it in a different section, and I picked it up with one fork from my big forklift. I picked it up by those collar ties, and I moved it, and I set it on the side of this hill on some concrete to level it up. And it gets packed with hay. What I do, I mean, this is chest high for me right now. What I do is I bring the trailer over, and I put a board across. I pick the trailer up even, and I climb into the trailer, and I just shove it across with the rake. There's a tiny bit of hay in there I gotta clean out and then sweep the seed. And I'll rake up that seed, and I will go put it over on the trails where the dozer has disturbed the soil on my logging roads. I log different people's property in my neighborhood, little 5-acre, 10-acre places. Now the reason there's a slot right there is so that I can pull that hay out the other side. So I'll pack it in here, and I obviously can pull it out here. When the goats are confined in there for the dead of winter, I will, you know, feed them in here in this little wire basket, just a scrap of fence, just to keep the hay off the ground, out of the manure. But this enclosure is my winter enclosure, and I'll just pull it out and put it on the ground there. Or the cinder blocks are so the nanny, she likes to climb up. You'll hear this banging. It's her hooves banging on the tin. She'll climb up and self-feed out of there. So it's a very, very easy system. All of the hay seed that ends up in here, whatever they trample, I just shove it off to the side with my foot, and the rain washes it down the hill. And obviously it's incredibly dense. So this system works really, really well for me.